What's up, everybody? Brothers, sisters, psychonauts, and seekers of truth. It is Ananka, and welcome to my bazaar. Today, I have a 5 MAPB slash LSD slash Kratom trip report for you. The title of this trip report is The Experiment Synergy Happening, and was submitted to Erowid in 2015 by the user Vostochnik. With all that being said, let our story begin. Note: I wrote this report while I was under the influence of these substances, so about 3.5 hours in, a lot of my writing becomes gibberish-like. I have decided to include these entries, but I will leave out all the writing that doesn't even look like the Roman alphabet, or any alphabet I'm familiar with, for that matter. I put quotation marks around the sentences that sound like intoxication rather than analysis, because some of it is hilarious. Materials used: pre-dose of 8.5 grams, a heavy dose of red vein Thai kratom powder, 750 micrograms of LSD on blotters, 110 milligrams of 5 MAPB orally, about a half gram of some high-grade cannabis, strawberry cough, and I'd also been taking 5 HTP in the morning for the past 2 weeks in the hopes of building up my serotonin supply. T-minus 15 minutes. 2:45 p.m., I ingested 8.5 grams of red vein Thai kratom powder. T plus 0. 3 p.m. Ingested a capsule of 110 milligrams of 5 MAPB and set aside another 25 milligrams in case a booster is needed later. After this, I placed 3 tabs of LSD, 750 micrograms, under my tongue. I originally bought a 10 strip of this acid and tested out 3 hits about a month and a half ago. Very, very good acid. T plus 20 minutes. Kratom is definitely kicking in. It's been a long time since I took kratom or any pharmaceutical opiates, so 8.5 grams is very, very strong. I'm having a tiny bit of trouble keeping my eyes open. I am extra relaxed and just the slightest bit euphoric, with a stupid grin on my face. This is the best way I have ever decided to start a trip, by far. An hour and 3 minutes in. First alerts, probably from the 5 MAPB, as this particular batch of acid takes a long time to fully come up. The kratom was such a good idea. Normally at this point, I would have a lot of nervous energy. No signs of visuals yet. I feel almost tired. Not exhausted, but just comfortable and amazingly mellow. I would normally be chain-smoking bowls of bud to ease the discomfort of coming up, but with the kratom in my system, everything feels perfect. An hour and 25 minutes in, coming up on the 5 MAPB quickly. Wiggly eyes and relaxation even greater than what I already feel from the kratom. There are patterns, like simple computer graphics that mimic textiles. Think Windows 3.1. That move slowly to and fro when I close my eyes. I know for a fact that the 5 MAPB is starting, and is going to be an intense experience, because I am already experiencing the hallmark, short-term memory loss that 5 MAPB so consistently provides. I am also occasionally spelling words backwards or out of order while I write this report by hand. I feel like I'm starting to come up on the Lucy too. So I'm gonna smoke a bowl and put some music on. This is just starting to become intense. In the good way. I briefly considered adding methadone, BK, MDMA, M1 to the mix after the 5 MAPB kicked in, just to add a little bit of energy. But as I was about to write the word methadone, I got a small surge of energy and alertness. I won't be napping through any of this trip. After all, hooray. Note, I am getting a lot of ideas for photography, screen printing, drawing, and other art projects so freely. I am, of course, writing them all down. The trance begins. Seriously? The trance begins? I wrote that? An hour and 39 minutes in. The acid is definitely coming on. Today will be amazing. I have no doubt. I still feel so euphoric and almost lazy, but with a gentle push from the 5 MAPB. Time to smoke that bowl, finally. Also need to secure more buds for the evening. So blissful and alert. Since the acid is already creeping in, I'm going to just chew and swallow these blotters in my mouth. 2 hours. This is beyond words. I am well experienced with LSD on its own, and in combination with mushrooms. I am also very experienced with 5 MAPB, real MDMA, and even methadone, both alone and in combination with mushrooms. But until today, I had never tried candy flipping. I can't believe how early in the experience it is when I analyze all my feelings. There's just so much there, constantly changing and developing. The visual content hasn't even started yet. 2 hours and 20 minutes in, I'm very sensitive to temperature. Rolling in the winter time always presents this challenge. Heater, then AC, then heater again. LSD visuals have definitely started. It feels now that I am beginning to feel the acid more, like it's got control over the slightly scatterbrained nature of rolling. My eyes still wiggle like crazy now and again, but I have the unmistakable sensation of settling into one of the most important experiences of my life. The beginning visual effects of the LSD do seem somewhat enhanced by the 5 MAPB. It's very difficult to describe, and I'm still trying to decide how it really feels. It's like normal LSD visuals, but exaggerated or made repetitive. Things trailing into infinity, then trailing back into reality, no longer moving. The closed-eye visuals are the most impressive. I mentioned that I was getting a lot of ideas for art projects earlier. Well, right now, all I have to do is get those ideas and that creativity is close my eyes, pay attention, and try to write down some of the things I saw as quickly as possible. The closed-eye visuals were reminiscent of, in my opinion, combining Syrian root tea with psilocybin mushrooms. Very rapidly changing, full of interacting figures rather than objects or simple patterns. Almost narrative. I thank the universe for these ideas and this experience. 2 hours and 35 minutes in. Everything is incredible. I cannot believe how much synergy exists between these two substances, because this is all brand new territory for someone who generally takes a handful of LSD each weekend, and MDMA or 5 MAPB once every other month or so. I also consider myself a very open person, socially and emotionally. Still, this experience feels like an emotional rebirth. My mind has been here, but this is new emotional terrain, and it's so rich. 2 hours and 50 minutes in. The LSD has definitely settled in now. I feel slightly more conservative than before, emotionally speaking. This feels more like the intellectual side of a high-dose LSD experience. The ecstasy feelings are still in place, just not as much of a focal point as the visuals I'm starting to have. I honestly feel like this experience, this combination, has more depth in a certain capacity than hippie flipping, which is MDMA and mushrooms. I am such an anxious person usually. I'm prescribed Xanax, a lot of it. But right now, I can see through it and analyze it objectively. This experience feels like it has about 5 years' worth of psychotherapy packed into every single minute of it. Glorious. Healing. 3 hours and 10 minutes. This experience feels thoroughly like exactly what I've been looking for with regards to psychedelics. If any of my experiments with any psychedelics have ever needed to be documented on websites like Erowid, it is definitely the one I am having right now. This is beyond unique and infinitely more understated than novelty. This is the end of the chapter, in terms of empathogens anyway. This is my it, and yet the LSD visuals are only beginning. 3.5 hours in. As someone who much prefers LSD to MDMA, I still have to say again that the synergy happening in this experiment is nothing short of perfection. 3 hours, 38 minutes. I'm really not a hippie, but this experience is definitely the closest I'll ever be to one. 3 hours and 47 minutes. I have to admit that this experience as a whole is much more reminiscent of rolling rather than tripping. But don't get me wrong, it's an incredible middle ground. It's still very, very trippy, much more psychedelic than 5 MAPB on its own. It feels like my interior is growing, rather than my comprehension of the exterior. 4 hours and 12 minutes. What did people do before these two substances existed? 4 hours and 27 minutes. This must be the peak of the acid, or maybe the peak of this whole experiment, because I am easily lost, distracted, even at times just inexplicably confused. And that's great, because my dog is begging me to take him outside now. This will be an interesting walk. 4 hours and 35 minutes. The walk went fine. I didn't run into any neighbors. It's almost 8 p.m. and freezing cold outside. So I just watched the gentle wind running through the grass in my apartment complex's courtyard. This was probably the height of the visual component of this experience. It was so peaceful to just be with my dog, whom I love infinitely, watching the grass wave and warp and delicately swirl in and out of psychedelia. 5 hours and 20 minutes. The last hour has been nothing but joyful, colorful, happy confusion. Again, closer to rolling than tripping. What would normally cause me to get introspective on LSD by itself, during this experience, casually dismissed almost instinctively. I can feel the acid in full force, but the MAPB definitely dominates. However, the acid does seem to influence the effects of the 5 MAPB. Good thing I'm prescribed Xanax, because this combination is pretty stimulating. Although there is For it's wiki gabandi. Winto te? Yeah. And tip for mom. Seriously? What fuck? I could just Tamir. Jave ut iaski. The only foreign language I speak is Russian. And that isn't Russian. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't remember what I was thinking about when I wrote that last bit. At all. Kinda embarrassing. Anyway, that's all I could get out during the candy flip. But I did write some notes the next day. The next day, January 3rd, 2015. T plus 20 hours. I slept well with the help of my Xanax, although I didn't have to take as much as I normally do for insomnia. I was very relaxed, just a bit stimulated. I still have the warmth, tranquility, and optimism from the 5 MAPB. The acid is all gone, but I still see slowly changing patterns when I close my eyes. Realization that I wrote and or communicated a lot of gibberish last night. If you thought that one paragraph was nonsensical, then you should see some of my text streams. I check my cell phone's call log. No calls to or from parents or family. Thank God. 23 hours and 27 minutes in. I am now at work, getting a hell of a lot done, actually. I did take 5 HTP, ginseng, and ginkgo biloba. I was looking to curb any negative effects from rolling, but I guess I ended up adding another peak to it. So incredibly relaxed, but mentally very clear and alert. I feel so optimistic. 28 hours and 51 minutes in. I was feeling normal again. Still very upbeat, but not re-peaking like I was a few hours ago. Until I bought a Suboxone tablet. I'm not a fan of popping pills, but this needed to happen to finally make everything wind down and leave me soberish and ready for bed. So I drove back home from work and crushed about 2 milligrams of the Suboxone pill. Note, I don't drive impaired, but I got plenty of sleep, and my vision had gone back to normal. Please do not drive on ecstasy, and note that I was not intoxicated, but merely had a wonderful afterglow going on. So I snorted that and smoked a bowl of strawberry cough. When I finished the bowl, I got up to cook some dinner, and it hit me yet again. This time it's much more mellow. I still halfway. 31 hours and 22 minutes. I'm nodding out big time. I think the roll is finally over. Strange. I took what I considered a moderate dose. The high end of moderate, but still. Time for my nighttime Xanax because my back hurts, and I have a very slight headache. This was definitely caused by having absolutely no appetite for a day and a half. Time to go microwave the food I cooked 4 hours ago. Good night, and safe travels. Alright, everyone. That is the end of our story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Share with us your 5 MAPB experiences down in the comments below. Check out the other videos and playlists on my channel. And I will see you in the next one, fam. Deuces.